Hello everyone. So 6 months ago I made a video about how I had let go of pretty much everything in my life and how I was living in the complete void with no idea of what was going to happen next in my life. And so the rest of this year has really been about going even deeper into the letting go and shedding old skins and integrating everything that had happened in my life. And I did all of this while making space to receive new informations, new codes, new ways of being and working and seeing life. And so to me, an ego death is when our old identity, our old patterns and old sense of self can no longer exist, because the expansion of your soul is asking you to step into a new level of truth and authenticity. And so it's really about learning to think, act and live from the heart, which is the voice of your soul. And so I know that many of us went through difficult times this year, and all of this kind of like pushed us to break through old habits, ways of thinking and acting. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 key steps that have helped me integrate more of my soul, be connected to my intuition and my higher self, and feel safe and trust in my body. And just have this like inner knowing that whatever is going to happen, it's for the highest good of all. The first key is the body. And so I believe that the path of tomorrow, which is the path of today and the path of now, is the body. So yes, we are spiritual beings. We can have visions and downloads, and we can connect with other beings, and we can have brilliant thoughts and amazing ideas, but we live here on planet Earth. And many of us are so disconnected because we spend way too much time in there than in here. And this disconnection often comes from a difficult time to be and live in the body. And you know, the anxiety in which many of us live today is a perfect example of why we are so disconnected from the body. And so, for example, I was at a training at the beginning of the year, and like we did this chakra breathing practice. And so it's like you breathe intensely in all of your chakra. And when I get to the crown and the soul star chakra, which are connected to divine wisdom, your higher self, universal consciousness, it's like when I get there, I had like this intense feeling of sadness within me. And I kind of had the thought that I didn't want to stay here anymore. I didn't want to stay in this body anymore. And I remember that this moment was so challenging for me because I never had this type of thought before. And so I remember crying for hours after this. And you know, after speaking with my mentors and my sisters in the training, I understood that this experience was connected to the incarnation wound, which is the soul resistance to fully being embodied in the physical world. And so this wound can show up as instability, insecurity, and difficulties to trust life. So, for example, whenever we are like in this anxious and survival states, this can be connected to this difficulty, this challenge of incarnation. If you think about this, plus you add the impact of today's Western society and you know, this culture that push us to be more productive, to perform without stopping, and without listening to ourselves, our body, our feelings in general, then you realize even more that there is this disconnection from the body that happens. And so the more we are going to learn to be in our body again, the more we are going to feel safe. So everything you can do to nourish your body and your senses so your soul can feel more at home is going to help like the integration and the expansion of the new identity that you are creating on a cellular level. The second key is opening the heart and trusting the heart. So the path of the heart has been calling me for a very long time, but it became especially clear last year when I started seeing in visions and meditation and in everyday life actually. I started seeing a representation of the divine feminine, like Mary Magdalene, Isis, Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Tara, and all the symbols associated with the faces of the divine feminine. And so this path took me deep within my own darkness and shadows and generally helped me reconnect with my body, my intuition, my heart, and another way of living life. And so along the way, I've learned that our heart holds our soul desire. Our heart holds desires that are purified from the mind. And so by purifying and opening the heart, we let go of the attachment and the desires that were connected to our ego. And we are finally able to see the truth and being honest with ourselves. Like sometimes we can think that we want something which is ego desires, and at the end something else is manifested, which was really about what you needed at this moment, the desires of your soul. And when we are in the heart, there is like this presence that happens where there is no more expectations. You live in the present moment, and every moment becomes like co-created manifestation. And so opening the heart was one of the most challenging parts of this past years for me, because like I carried a deep fear of intimacy. And even though I was in a marriage, in a relationship for 10 years, I was running away from love, and I was running away from true intimacy because of the conditioning that I had. And so the path of the heart asks you to face all of this, to face your deepest fears and to purge and purify the heart. So the heart can finally take its place and lead the way. And so all the trust, the intuition, the truth, the guidance that you're looking for is within your heart, nowhere else. And so praying and focusing your intentions, your meditation, your practices on opening, purifying, and nourishing the heart is going to help you deeply on your path of integration and on the path of your soul in general. And not only this, but also, aligning your action, like letting go and saying no to what is not nourishing your hearts and your senses in general. Like I personally took a huge break from social media and removed like the apps from my phone because it was not nourishing my heart in that specific moment of my life. So this is an example, right? Which leads me to the third key, which is practicing surrender. So when you are in a phase of fast spiritual growth, meaning like you're having breakthrough and emotional release and like you shift your belief, your mindset on a regular basis, yet your mind is in a place of, I want to create, I want to do something, I want to be doing, I want this now, Well, this can create frustration and impatience within us. And so in my case, some morning I would wake up and think like, okay, this is it. I'm creating this. I know, I just know I'm just doing this. I'm going for it. And so I would start something, but then I will have like another breakthrough, like, I don't know, during the evening, whatever. And so 2 days later, I no longer wanted to do that anymore. I no longer wanted to do the project because it's like I had shed another layer and like it wasn't me anymore. It was like my old self. We are always changing anyways. And so I learned to practice surrender, meaning I will go to my heart and ask, is this it? Like, are we doing it now? Is this intention coming from love or coming from ego? You know, is it coming from fear? And when something is truly coming from love, you can feel it. Like, it flows. It feels simple. It feels safe to move toward it. It feels right, like a relationship, like a healthy relationship. But when it's not coming from the heart, like, you feel like contracted, like you're in this like overthinking mode, you know, and you just get stuck. And so I learned to question my heart before pursuing anything that doesn't feel true, and also stay with my first impulses and my first gut feelings, you know, without questioning anything afterwards. Practicing surrender is not being passive. To me, it really means giving power to the hearts, and actively asking the heart for truth and letting go of anything that does not feel true. And so creating this new habit takes practice, but it will transform the way you live, because you're gonna stop forcing yourself. You're gonna stop pushing. You're gonna stop thinking that you have to be productive and feeling guilty when you're not, you know. And this is when you are going to start aligning and harmonizing, you know, and synchronizing, whatever you want to call it. The fourth key is about closing the loops in our physical reality. So closing what is not coming from this place of love. And so ego death is kind of like the end of proving yourself, or at least being very much aware of the places where you're still doing so. And so the more you're going to be in the heart, the more you're going to be aware of the ego thing. Like the words you choose to speak, the type of question you're asking yourself, the things you pay attention to when you look at something. Like in general, when you are in the heart, there is more humility, humbleness, because you don't need to prove that you're good enough or not good enough to be accepted. And so I've heard last time someone said, I don't want to be powerful, I want to be power-filled. And I really love that, because this is what the power of the heart represents. And it doesn't mean the ego is going to disappear, but the voice of your heart is going to become stronger. And this also means taking actions in the physical space to help you integrate more of your soul. Like, think of the things that you have created from a fearful place or from a place of ego these past years. Think about the relationship or connections that you maintained out of fear, or maybe because you were fearful of being alone. Think about the goals or the achievement that you chased to feel validated and recognized. Think about the objects, the clothes, the spaces you kept because they represented like part of your old self. Think about the content that you posted, the ideas, the project you created that were not coming from this place of love. I closed another company recently that I had opened like 3 years ago, because like I told myself when I was 16 or 17 that I needed to have this company open, because I had something to prove to myself. And I've also closed an Instagram account that I had created back in 2019 for the same reasons, to show people things to prove myself. So when I did close all of this, I realized how grateful I was to have created these things, even though it was to prove myself something, because it helped me grow so much. So there is also this like sense of compassion for our past self that comes up when the heart is opened, and it really helps us to be more appreciative and have like this grateful view over like what we did in our life. So closing the loops is also about how do we choose to react and speak to people now, right? Even the people who are very angry at life. Are we going to choose to respond with ego and the same energy, or are we going to choose love? And I do think that this is when the path of the heart is very much tested, Because it's so easy to say that we choose love until someone that doesn't have the best intentions comes at you and tries to pull you back into old patterns, right? And so I believe that there are a lot of things that happen locally in our day-to-day, and I'm thinking about, simple things. When you enter the elevator, when you are at the gas station, when you go to the bakery, or when you go to the supermarket, just like being kind and compassionate with people, with our environment, and just because, just because. And this is when we see who is really living from the heart. Which led me to the fifth key, devotion. So I was in Meteora a few months ago, which is a place with beautiful monasteries in Greece. And I stayed there for a little while inside the nun monastery. And I connected with the place in meditation. And this is when I received the message about the truth of the heart and serving from a place of devotion without self-sacrificing. Which, by the way, the word sacrifice is very much connected to the religion. Anyways, so I think a lot of us come from years, generations, and past lives of self-sacrificing. At least I do. And there is like this deep fear that if we allow the heart to open and, give from the heart, we are going to sacrifice ourselves, or we are going to take responsibilities on our shoulders that are not ours, And so there is this deeply ingrained pattern, belief running in the collective and in our psyche that says that I'm giving, but what if I don't receive in return? What if I suffer, right? And so I used to have this fear of burden, like this huge fear of responsibilities and suffering and commitment and all of this. And I was seeing being in service and giving as something that was going against my energy and my freedom. And so I was still being in service, but I was not serving from love or from truth. And what I came to realize is that we are not here to walk the path alone, and that if we commit to the path of the heart, we will receive help. And what I've seen and what I've felt from the spiritual practices I do and the women I've been working with is that we are vessels of love, and we don't have to produce love, with our human self. We don't have to produce love and give it, That's only our patterns, our belief, and our conditioning that make us think this way. Love and abundance and its other type of emotions, energy, are being given freely to us if we choose to open ourselves to them and become vessels for them. And so I'm talking here about divine love. And so divine love is the infinite supply, and our role is to be a clear channel for this supply, right? So the idea of self-sacrifice is only a reflection of our own lack of faith in the divine source and in our own divine self and creative power. And so the only responsibility we have to take is going back to center, to love anytime we see ourselves not being in truth, and then committing again and again and again and again to the path of the soul. And from there we will feel what to do, and we will know when to do it. And I believe that it is through devotion and discipline and mastery of the spiritual and body practices that we do on a daily basis, where we connect with source and with ourself, with our body, that we renew this commitment and feel trust and guidance on our path. And this is when we kind of like expand our energy and our capacity to receive and embody more of our soul. And there are moments in life, especially when we are in transition and in the middle of change, when we need to double the amount of time that we dedicate to these practices, because they become a true pillar for our next phase of evolution. Thank you for listening, and I send you a lot of love and a lot of light on your path.